right, we're live. Well, except for we're not live. We're just recording.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate your time, man. Thank you for coming in. My very first person.
Oh, not a problem.
Man, I respect the hustle. You're just like, yeah, I'll be there right now. I was like, all right, let's do it then.
Yeah, no, I figured because Sunday I'm going to be busy all day. I got family and friends, not only coming from Sacramento, but from like downriver or even Crescent City in Southern Oregon.
Yeah.
And the plan is to like go hiking for Sunday, do some brunch, and try to get some swimming in. So I just figured it'd be better to do it today.
Yeah.
While I'm cutting weight, that way it's more like I have to mentally focus myself to stay sane, because you know how it is too. I mean, you cut weight before you know how mentally draining it can be. So.
Yeah. That also, I was thinking, because I didn't know how you were going to be, if you're just so fatigued. I know the day of the weight cut, like I don't want to talk to anybody like at all.
Yeah.
So, but thank you, man. I appreciate it.
No, not a problem. I mean, I set myself up. I just tell myself mentally, I'm like, listen, I have my Pedialyte ready to go.
Yeah.
I have another bottle of water ready to go.
Right.
And then Brian obviously supplies us with a bunch of fruit and wraps. And I'm like, perfect. I'm set.
Yeah. You're actually planning a hiking trip after the fight, man?
Yeah. It's not going to be
boy.
a big hiking trip or anything. It's just up to Fern Canyon. So, I mean, we're just going to try to go as far as we can into Fern Canyon, hit it around like maybe 1 or 2 in the afternoon, get done whatever time we get done.
Cool. So right now you're 4-0 pro. You're 8-0 as an amateur. You're just blazing through people. When's the UFC come knocking on your door? I mean, it's got to be soon, man. It's got to be soon.
Later.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Supposedly,
how old are you right now? Like 23, 24?
25.
Oh, 25.
Yeah, just turned 25 back in July.
Oh, man, you're ready.
Yeah, I'm excited. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it's one of those things, too, where there's not really a lot of recognition in the Northern California base unless you're at, like, a certain gym or, you're traveling. So like my first 2 professional fights were actually out of the state of California because I couldn't find anything on the West Coast. I was looking over and over
mid-east, like Michigan or Wisconsin.
It was in Wisconsin. So my first official pro fight came 2.5 years after my last amateur fight, and during that time I kept trying to find a bunch of fights, and I had I think I had over 20 different fight opportunities back out on me, either that, due to just backing out, or they weren't able to make the weight, so they didn't want to fight because they want to cut, or injuries. And I get it, injuries happen. Injuries are a part of the sport, but they kind of just made it hard. I was like, damn, dude, I'm not going to find any fights. And then finally,
and guys are ducking you too, so
And then who was it? Chris Hicks. He actually used to train with us over at Lost Boys, and he hit me up. He's like, dude, I'm starting a promotion. I'll fly you over. I'll pay for your travel. I'll take care of you. How would you like to fight on my show? And I was like, awesome. And so my first pro fight was actually against a guy who was 1-1 and went in there, won, and he was part of a tournament style. So the next fight was for a title. And then that was back in March. So, September to March, kind of a big layoff, but I had a hand injury I was dealing with. I couldn't even fully close my hand. So like my hand.
From in the gym?
No, I actually, so... Funny story. I broke
some negligence here.
No, so my puppy Freya was trying to get out the door, and when I went to slam the door, I was like kind of tired because I was just waking up, and I left my hand in the door, and so as I slammed it, it like broke this whole entire part of my hand. I was like, oh shit, and I had to go to training that morning, so I was like, oh, it's not broken. I'll train.
Right.
And then as I'm like sparring, because it was on a spar day, Wednesday. I kept going. I was like, dude, was my hand not closing?
Damn.
And so I forced it closed, and then I continued going, and then like it wouldn't open. So I was like, oh shit. And then as soon as I like popped it back straight, I can feel it pop and click. And I was like, ooh, that's not good.
Damn.
And so I went to get x-rays, and they're like, yeah, no, you definitely broke your hand. You have to take at least, 6 weeks to 8 weeks. And I got lucky enough that I healed after like a
When was
month.
this? Last year?
This was back in November of last year, because I had a fight lined up for December, so I had to pull out of that and told them, hey, let's try to get it set up for either February or March. And fortunately enough, my opponent understood, because he said he is actually dealing with a leg injury, so he'd like to do that either way. I was like, cool, awesome, let's do that. And then when I flew over, whooped his ass too.
That second one in Wisconsin as well?
Yep.
So first 2 were in Wisconsin, then the next 2 in Cali?
Yeah, it just felt good not to have to fly. Over. I mean, it's not a problem for me. I'll take a fight wherever I need to, whether it be, Wisconsin or
anywhere in the world, man.
Pretty much. I just like to fight.
Totally.
It's in my genes.
Yeah. And so this third fight, who was that against?
Ryan Wilson out of Wairika. And on that one, because he was a tall opponent, but he didn't want to cut to 170. So the original plan was for our fight to be at 170 pounds for a title or whatever. And he ended up saying he didn't want to cut the weight to 170 anymore. He wanted it at 180. I was like, all right, whatever. But then he ended up backing out. New opponent comes in. Then the fight's back at 170. And I'm thinking, dude, what the hell?
You can cuss, man.
Okay,
yeah,
cool. It's like, dude, what the fuck?
I cleared it with the boss. I was like, hey, man, we're going to be saying some shit, you know.
I just don't want you getting shut down by the FCC.
I know. It's cool.
But,
so he wanted to go back to 170, and you're like, what's up with the games? Why are you playing?
It wasn't even the promoter thing. It was more so the fighters. So I had the original opponent. Opponent backed out because he said he wasn't going to fight me. He wanted more money. And I was like, whatever, fuck him. And then I had a new opponent, but then the new opponent backs out like the week of the fight saying, oh, I hurt my ribs. It's like, no, you hurt your fucking vagina. You just didn't want to fight because he was going to make his pro debut against me. But he just lost
then he
his...
looked you up on YouTube and he was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, he just lost his last amateur fight. He was going to make his pro debut. He's supposed to be a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. So his team was like, oh, no, we could do this. But then they back out. And I'm like, okay, cool. Then I find out they have another fight lined up for like a couple weeks later. I don't know if he took it or not because I was like, fuck him.
Right.
But then my original opponent came back and he's like, well, it's going to be at 180. I was like, whatever, cool. I just want to fight. And then I ended that in, I think it was 11 or 13 seconds. It was one of those two, but I went to try to kick him in the jaw and he had just a giraffe neck and ended on his throat.
Right. You tagged him in the throat.
I wasn't aiming for the throat. I was aiming for the jaw.
I remember that, man, that smack, that was so loud.
Yeah.
You could just hear that like through the camera.
Yeah.
Man, at home was like, pop! And I was like, oh, that wasn't his jaw, you know? Like, that makes a different sound, you know? And then he just, like, collapsed his throat.
I felt like Darth Vader when I did that. I was like, forced stroke. But, no, it was weird, too, because, like, then afterwards, he hit me up on social media being like, hey, you just ended my career. I can no longer fight because you kicked me in the throat. I was like, dude, my bad. But then, like, later on, he's talking about how he wants to...
Blowing smoke.
He's blowing smoke. He's like, oh, man, he's all good luck in the future. Maybe we can run it back. I'm like, you just told me, like, here's the message. You just told me that you can't fight ever again. But now you're telling me you want to run it back one day? I'm like, whatever. Cool. Like, good luck.
Yeah.
And then somebody tagged me in one of his posts, and it's so funny. He's all, man, that bitch Orion. I was like, man, he's all, he had to kick me in the throat to win. He's like, he cheated. I was like, listen up, giraffe neck. I was trying to be nice and cordial.
Right.
But then after that,
you gotta keep your hands up.
And it's weird too because I still deal with a little bit of pain from.
It looks pretty swollen.
Yeah, it's been swollen for 2 years, but then it swelled up even more when I rebroke it from slamming my hand in the door. Which, oh shit.
Yeah, I know this gets loud. I'm gonna have to have one of those condenser things.
Definitely.
Where it absorbs the sound.
But no, so I mean, that fight, I sprained my finger here. I didn't re-break my hand, fortunately, but it was sprained, and then like
with the neck kick guy. That's when
because as soon as I hit him with the kick, I lunged forward with a right hook, and then I just kept hitting him with the right hand. And then after I finished the fight, I noticed that like my hand was a little sore after. I was like, oh crap! And so I was thinking, I got a month to heal anyways. Whatever, I can just ice my hand for a good week or two, and then I'll be fine for my next fight. But then Brian hit me up with an opportunity to, on a 10-day notice, fight at 180 catchweight again over in San Francisco. And so...
And that was his last card with Lewis?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
And so that was... I mean, I wasn't going to turn down the opportunity to be on the same card as my brother. It's rare that we ever get to fight on the same card. And so the fact that we got to do it as pros...
like a stud, didn't you?
Yeah, Joe Rogan. He was 4-0 at the time. Yeah, he was good.
Yeah.
I underestimated him right off the bat too. Because
he had you in like a rear naked in like the first or in the second.
Yeah, he had me the rear naked choke in the first round. I just went out there. I was thinking too much, and I was thinking, man, what I gotta get inside the pocket. And once I was inside the pocket, I didn't feel bad because like everything he hit me with, it didn't hurt. Yeah. It didn't land hard.
Yeah. So once you felt comfortable, you're like, oh, all right, I got this.
Sparring with my brother Lewis, I mean, we both say it like ourselves when we go into fights, like anything that people hit us with,
not nearly as hard.
It doesn't hurt.
Right.
Like we just walk on through it. That's why we're able to walk on through punches, but we know to keep our hands up and stay aware. But with that being said too, like he took my back. So he got the sweep. He ended up in full mount. And then he took my back because I was trying to escape out. And I, without realizing, the guy was 6'4". I'm only 5'11".
Yeah.
So he, long ass legs. And so he's able to sink those hooks in. And then I got fortunate enough to peel off because in my head, like, he had it deep.
Yeah.
Like, he had that choke deep. And
and Lewis was telling me, like, at that time, the guy that his coaches in his corner were, like, talking shit to you. And then Lewis started talking shit back to him.
Yeah.
The guy you were fighting, could you hear them? Like,
I could hear the coaches saying, "Yeah, choke his bitch ass out. He's done. Make him tap. You're fucking done, dude."
Yeah.
And I was telling myself, and I was like,
"Not today, motherfucker."
No, I told myself too, because like it started like kind of going out, and I was like, "Nah, dude, you ain't no bitch." And I said that in my head. I told myself, I was like, "I'm not no bitch." And I fucking started peeling off his hands, and that's when I was turned and able to change the position. And as soon as I got out of the position, his coaches like kind of went quiet because that's when I started to turn the round towards my way. I've watched the fight multiple times, and I keep telling myself, I feel like he won that first round. But it was weird because I've had other people tell me they thought I won the first round too, just because the only time he was doing good was the first 2 minutes of the fight, but he had the choke. And then after that, I got on top, I was landing some shots, out grappled him, we stood back up, and I was out striking him. And that's where I started to break him down towards the cage. And then the beginning of the second round, I think it was like 30 seconds in, I hit him with that counter overhand left because he went for his right cross, and I just landed flush and dropped him. And I actually thought I was going to finish the fight right there, but he did a good job. Again, like 6'4", so his wingspan is long. He was able to hook onto the leg and survive and keep one side of his head protected while circling. So he did a really good job with that. And then from there, there's a couple times too because we were so sweaty, so it was slippery on the grappling aspects, where I just put myself in bad positions by trying to go for moves and positions that I could do on people that were maybe shorter, but also less slick. Like it's one of those things where, if you're slippery like that, it's going to be hard to get certain holds. It's like trying to go for a triangle on somebody who's like super slick, bald headed, and then all of a sudden they slip out. You're all, what the fuck? So that's kind of what it felt like too, going for certain moves. And then at the end of the second round, my brother was telling me, nah, fuck the grappling. Let's just keep it standing. He doesn't want it anymore. And I was like, all right, cool. I know what to do then. And then there's one time in the third round where I thought I was going to have him finished again because he was on the ground and I kept hitting him. But then I was thinking, you know what? I'm going to take the back. Why not? And he ended up having me slip out and over. He took half guard, slipped into side control, and then I reversed it back to side control. And then from there, I heard Lewis nonstop saying, yo, no, fucking stand him up. Let his bitch ass stand up. Fuck him, bro. Fuck him up. And when you hear that from people's corners and you like, if you're already mentally broken down because you think, fuck, why is this guy not done yet? That can mentally break a fighter. So when I actually started letting him stand up to go against the cage, that way I can keep hitting him. And then from there, like I just wearing his arms down even more. And then beginning to the end, I dropped his hands and came over the top with the overhand elbow. And then that's what led to the finish because then from there he was just done. And then Lewis obviously was still talking shit. And it was funny too because I can hear him talking shit while I was like finishing the fight. And so after that, it was a good win. It's hard to breathe in that whole entire arena though.
Really? Like muggy?
It felt muggy, especially because it's so smoggy down in San Fran. The air quality is just absolutely garbage because it's a garbage city. Let's face the facts.
Right.
I mean,
too many people.
Yeah, too many people, and then too many fucking cars.
Yeah, that's true.
But not just that, dude, there was like people smoking at the event too.
Like cigarettes inside the venue?
Yeah, there's like people smoking joints and vape pens and all that shit. And so like they had smoke machines going off inside the arena, but there's like no air ventilation because the Cow Palace is so old.
Yeah.
And so it's like...
Yeah, they did that down at one of the Napa fights. Had a smoke machine. Like right when you walk out, you're like breathing it in before
like,
you go in the cage.
This is nice. It's like, kill the fighter really fast. Yeah, he's ready to go. And all of a sudden, he's inhaling all this fucking...
Yeah. Yeah, I was always curious... when you transitioned from and to pro and you were able to start using like the elbows to the head, how did that change up your game plan? Because I noticed like in the ground and pound aspect, like elbows are just it's night and day difference. Because me, I get stuck. Like I can't generate a lot of power, but if I had elbows, it'd be a different story.
So as an amateur, obviously the reason why they don't have knees or elbows to the head is just because of the fighter safety, and they want to make sure that you're learning rather than actually fighting to win money. That's the difference between amateurs and professionals, I guess. But even as an amateur, I took it all the same way. I just told myself, hey, think of this as wrestling with a certain rule set. It's like, freestyle versus Greco. In freestyle, you can use the lights to trip people. In Greco, you can't use the lights to trip people.
It's all grapple.
It's all upper body movements and throws. You can't attack the legs, and you can't use your legs to help you with a throw. And so that's the way I just told myself. So I made it translate easily. And then wrestling versus jiu-jitsu. In wrestling, you don't want to be on your back. Jiu-jitsu, it's fine to be on your back. But you don't want to be on your back really necessarily in side control or full mount against a wrestler because of that top mount pressure. So it's like chess. Yeah. So as a pro, it's nice because growing up and training, I always practice with my knees and elbows. And so I always hated the amateur circuit because I can never use it.
Right.
I just never used it because I knew the rule set. But as soon as I became a pro, I just told myself I have more things that I can use now. And
doors just opened.
Good. Yeah. What was it? My first professional fight, I finished it with a right elbow that split open the dude's eye.
Oh, yeah, right there, yeah.
And that was at the end of the first round. And then I even split my own elbow from that, too.
Damn.
I don't know if I do still have the scar. But it's just one of those things where it's nice to be able to have more opportunities because, say, as an amateur, if you break your hands,
right,
what are you going to fucking do? Shoulder butt them? Like,
yeah.
You're going to hit them with your wrist? Like, you can't use your elbows at that point. And so that's why as a pro, it's nice because not only do you have two hands at that point, you got four hands.
You just doubled your limbs.
Yeah, pretty much. You just doubled up. And then same with the kicks. Like say you have like a really bad bruised shin, but your other foot's broken. Okay, start throwing knees.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I noticed in my fights, like, I'll throw knees to the body, but like if I were able to throw knees to the head, it would be over so much quicker.
Yeah.
So I'm like having to hesitate.
That's just one of those transitions.
Yeah.
Once you're ready to go pro too, once you feel very comfortable going pro, like for me, my last 2 or 3 amateur fights were all supposed to be pro fights, but the people would back out and then a last minute replacement would say, yeah, I'll fight, but only as an amateur. And I'm like, I've already trained my ass off for this. So let's just keep it, I just want to fight at that point.
Right.
But with that being said too, it's just one of those things. No one will ever truly know if you're ready to go pro or not. Except for you. That's the way I saw it. So I had people tell me, oh, I don't think you're ready. I'm like, well, you're a fucking idiot because, for one, have you ever fought before?
Right.
You're not in my shoes.
Yeah,
you could say I could still work on these things. But here's the problem. As a fighter, you're always working on things. You're always having to evolve in the sport. That way no one else catches up to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I still have a couple of more years as an amateur before I even feel ready.
Yeah.
But people that give you that opinion, like, they've never even fought before. So it's like, where are you coming from with this? Like, just because you see the UFC and I don't look like that guy, do you think I'm not ready? It's it's very biased opinion that you get from a lot of people.
We call them couch coaches.
Couch coaches. And so what about your fourth fight?
That fourth fight was...
that San Francisco one, right?
Yeah, that was Joe Crop's.
So now you're 4-0. About to be 5-0 tomorrow.
Of course.
Yeah. And so who you fighting tomorrow?
So I was originally supposed to fight some guy named Justin Baseman out of Susanville, but he backed out because he didn't like the fact that he wasn't going to get paid more, even though he agreed to the contract. Like originally, because he has like 40 fights or something like that. It's some high number. He has like 40 or 50 fights.
Wow.
And he was going to get paid more to fight me on this card just because, to me, they're just fucking stepping stones. Everyone is in my way to the one ultimate goal, and that's just to prove that I'm the best in the sport. He backed out, though. He went from making some certain number to trying to double it, and then trying to get more hotel rooms, trying to get more travel. And I'm like, the guy doesn't want to fight. He's scared. He's a bitch. And so the promoter agreed, and when he tried to counter offer, the guy said, no, it's not worth my time, and backed out. And I'm thinking, you're supposed to be a professional in the sport. Right. Your name's supposed to be Raw Deal. You sound like a raw bitch. Yeah, where do you go from there? Yeah. So at that point, it's like...
You just brush him aside.
Brush him aside. Fortunately enough, though, Brian, the promoter for the event, he was able to find me a replacement immediately.
Really?
Yep. And so it's actually funny because my opponent now is going to be the opponent that my brother just fought 2 weeks ago in San Fran.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, Lewis beat him in the first round with a standing guillotine choke against the cage.
Yeah.
But the guy's...
Yeah, that was in like the first round, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's nice.
And so the guy has 60 fights as a professional, but he heard that pretty much they needed a last minute replacement. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. Just make sure you take care of me though, because, I'm taking this last minute. And I was like, cool, I just need to fight. So I'm actually super grateful that the guy's taking the fight. Mm-hmm. I expect myself to go in and beat him a lot faster than Lewis did.
Yeah, you're mop the floor with him.
Yeah.
You're trying to beat Lewis's record?
I got to beat Lewis's record.
What was he at? Like a minute something?
So the knockout record that he has?
No, his guillotine for this guy. You're trying to beat him faster than he did?
No, I'm trying to beat his fucking 8-second knockout.
Okay.
You know how...
Get the record here.
I had so many... So that's the competitive edge that keeps us both going, that keeps us on our toes,
Sharpens the blade.
Because I think the fastest knockout I had was 33 seconds, and that was like 3 years ago. And that was my last amateur fight, and that was back at Bear River. And so that's the last time I fought at Bear River was like 3 years ago now. Mm-hmm. And...
Yeah, I guess, damn.
And so Lewis and I were always talking. I was like, you ain't beating 33 seconds. And he's like, nah, I'm going to beat 33 seconds, motherfucker. And he got 8 seconds. And I'm like, man, this motherfucker. And I was proud of him. And then afterwards, we're chilling, we're celebrating. He's like, hey, what's 33 minus say? I was like, you fucking piece of shit. And so other people heard, and they're like, yeah, so, like, you're going to let the little brother outdo you like that, huh? I was like, oh, man, these motherfuckers.
So you just get to come in with an overhand right or tornado kick or like what's...
I want to get something flashy. We'll see, though. I mean, like I said, it feels like you have to do something flashy in a finish nowadays in order to even get a call up to UFC or Bellator or any of those. But I'm hoping after this fight, we'll see. I've been talking with my management down at Ultimate Fitness, and because Uriah Faber's the one that brought me down to Sacramento. He came up, he watched me and Lewis's last fights.
Yeah, he's known about you guys for years.
And that was over in, what was it? That was 3 years ago, actually, that he came up. That was my last amateur fight, and I think that was one of Lewis's last amateur fights or his pro debut. It was one of those.
Right.
No, it was his last amateur fight, too. And he came up, he talked to the both of us, asked us what weight class we were fighting at, and then he was trying to get us down there. And so it took about, I think, a year until I could finally move down, just because I was saving money. Things happen in life, and then, I finally made the move. And I've been happy about it ever since. It's been a great gym. I got a job he helped me get a job as a personal trainer over at the UFC gym in Rockland. So I get to train other athletes there, as well as I get to train with James Irvin. So he used to fight back in the UFC, and it's actually really cool because he's my new striking coach. And so my striking's just gone way up significantly. Yeah. And then I'm still able to work on my jiu-jitsu with a black belt, Chad. And then, when I'm over at Alpha Male, I get to train with all those guys as well. Yeah. So it's always a good time because everyone's just pushing each other to be better.
Yeah, right. You're right there at that limit, man. You're ready to go. Then UFC Contender Series or something, man.
Maybe. We'll see. I mean, if I can bypass that Contender Series and just get straight onto the prelim, that's fine because at that point, Contender Series, you're not even guaranteed a spot. Mm-hmm. Either you're going to get a contract or you get a development contract, which means you have to fight again in the Contender Series, which is like a slap in the fucking face, or you can win dominant fashion and the UFC's be like, nah, we've seen people like you before, we're good. It's like, the fuck do you mean? You're looking for the best of the best, you cocksucker. Yeah. But it's all politics nowadays. It's about who you know. So we'll see. I just got to go win this fight.
So is the end goal UFC, or are you fine with Bellator and the other ones, or you're like, nah, I'm going for the gold?
At first, I was okay with doing like ONE FC or Bellator, but let's face the facts. The testing for those organizations isn't good as it should be. Like
testing, like drugs. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, okay.
TRT and steroids, shit like that. Like the testing for those isn't really well. In fact,
do they just do simple blood work?
There's no testing in Japan actually.
Oh shit.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of the fighters over there
just
juiced to the gills.
Yeah.
And then they got some fights to where in Bellator, it's like some of the fighters, like they don't even have to do the testing. Like they just get it waived. It's like a special fight.
Okay.
So it's certain rules.
Interesting.
Yeah. Whereas the UFC, you know, it's
like they're cracking down on it.
Yeah.
Are they also cracking down on the weight cut stuff?
It just depends. So CSAC wants to make it to where if you are more than 10%, the next day, because what they're doing is you have to weigh in, and then the next day you have to weigh in again at the event, and then you have to weigh in again after. It's just all weird how they do it, but it's like 10% or 15%. I think it's 10% now. So like if you fight at 170 pounds, they don't want you weighing more than 187 pounds because the 10% rule.
Yeah.
And then if you fight at 155 pounds, they don't want you weighing more than 170 at the time that you weigh in when you get to the event. Like if you start weighing more, then that's fine. But they're trying to make it to where New York State Athletic Commission does it, and they want to make it to where the Nevada State Athletic Commission does it. But, if someone knows how to cut weight, let them cut weight.
Yeah.
And I get it. Some people are complaining about the weight cutting, like, oh, it's not fair to other athletes. It's like, no, if you want to be a fighter, it's part of the process. Learn to cut weight, or just get rid of weight cutting altogether and see how athletes do at their own general weight classes. Don't pick and choose who gets to cut weight and who doesn't.
Right.
Because that's where the bias starts coming
Especially
in.
by state.
Yeah.
It's like if it's the same organization, it should be the whole thing.
Well, I mean, what? I think in California or Texas, they're still trying to figure out whether the hand on the ground but not a knee on the ground is considered a down opponent, or is it two hands on the ground, or what's the different variation? It's like, well, one, if you have two hands on the ground, like there's a difference between having all your support on your hands and then maybe just touching your fingers to the ground.
Right, and you still have weight on your feet.
Before they start talking about the weight cutting issues, maybe they should start talking more about what the proper
So do you think that 10% weight cut is ideal?
I mean, I don't give a shit what it is. Like I said,
you cut a significant amount, don't you?
I walk around at 195 to 200 pounds, and then get down to 170, 171, and then day of the fight, I'm about 187 to 190.
Okay.
So with that being said, I mean, I don't have a problem if that's the rule. Is hey, you can't be more than 185 or 187. Fine, I'll make sure I'm 187 at the time they need me to be 187.
You have to cut weight after you cut weight.
Right. I actually do a pretty good job though. So usually like after the weigh-in, I'll just start sipping on my Pedialyte, have a little bit of fruit. That way my body starts picking up and getting the natural sugars to help the blood flow back through everything. And then sip some more Pedialyte, eat a little bit. And then once my body feels ready to eat, I just go and get sushi because I got my proteins, fats, and carbs right there. And so I'm able to put on the weight in a healthy manner.
Right on.
I usually started with like a bunch of fruit.
Yeah. And have you ever fought at, you fought at 185 before, right?
My very first amateur tournament was at 185 because my brother fought at 170. And because it was a tournament, we had to buy in. I think it was like $25 each. But the winners of the tournaments, depending on how many times you fought, either won 500, 750, or 1,000.
Oh, so you're like, you'll get one, I'll get the other.
Yeah, so pretty much like my brother, I was like, hey, you want to cut to 55? I'll cut to 70. He's like, I kind of just want to fight at 170 for this. I was like, cool, fuck it. I'll fight at 185. He's like, you sure? I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. And he got lucky. He won $1,000 that night. I'm not saying he got lucky, but he fucking dominated all of his opponents.
Right.
I lost $250 that night though because like 2 minutes before my fight in the first round, my opponent comes up. He's all, hey, you're Orion, right? And I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I'm not fighting you. I was like, wait. And my brother was sitting right there. And I was like, wait.
What?
And then Jeremy Ashley, he was there too. And he was like, wait, what the fuck did you just say? And I was like, yeah, what he said. I was like, what the fuck do you mean you're not fighting me? He's all, no, I already know I'm going to lose. So I was like, you paid $25 to fight in the tournament. He's like, I was hoping I'd fight you in the finals. Or actually, I was hoping you'd lose to somebody else before we fought. But luck of the draw said nah. But I know I'm not ready, so I'm going to take off out of here. I was like, no, you're not. I was like, dude, just go out there. Let me whoop your ass for a second. I won't hit you hard. I'll just take you. I was like, just go to the ground. I'll choke you out. And he's like, no, I have a feeling that you'll fuck me up even worse. Because I'm saying this, and I was like, this piece of shit. He took off, and they announced his name, and I had to tell the promoter, I was like, dude, he just told me he's taking off because he doesn't want to fight. And he's like, what the fuck does he mean he doesn't want to fight? I was like, he said he was hoping all this other shit happened.
Damn.
And it didn't happen. I was like, why didn't you put him on the other side of the card?
So you lost money because of it?
I won $750 that night.
Oh,
but I could have won 1,000. I could have won
see.
more. And so it was cool though because the promoter's wife was like, "No, you deserve that money though." And I was like, "It is what it is." And so they didn't give me the $250, but they were courteous enough because I was 19 at the time. They actually bought me a bottle of whiskey. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. I'm not gonna say who the promoters were. I'm not gonna say where it was. But I thought that was super nice of them. It was a genuine gift, so cool. It was a pretty good bottle of whiskey too.
Right on.
So I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah, and so you don't feel like you'd fight at 85 as a pro?
Actually, my last 2 fights were at 180, and if I told the promoter, I was like, we could do this at 185 as well, because like I said, I walk around at like 195, 200 pounds.
Yeah, so that'd be perfect for you, like 180.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should have more weight classes, like every 5 pounds.
I've thought about it. It just gets hard because, the lighter weights, it's every 10 pounds, but then as soon as you pass,
55 to 70, 70 to 85.
Yeah, it's 55, 70, because then it goes what? 25,
you're stuck
35,
in a
45,
hard
55.
spot.
Then it's 15-pound differences.
Right.
And then after 205, and then the next weight class up is 265.
Right.
I wouldn't be opposed to them opening up possibly like a not a 225, maybe like a 235 though, somewhere in between 205 and 265. Have it at 230 or 235.
Yeah.
Because then you can call it a cruiserweight championship because that's what they do in boxing. It's like cruiserweights are like light heavyweights in a sense.
Right.
But they're above light heavyweight and just below heavyweight because they can cruise between light heavyweight to heavyweight.
Yeah.
And so if the UFC or, MMA organizations were to do that, that'd actually be pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. They should add more. Even in your predicament, because it's like, okay, either 85 or 70. And it's like 85, you're chilling, but you're fighting a big dude that's probably walking around at 210, 220, or 70, and you just kind of, you got to.
Yeah. No, I think on the day of my last fight, after I cut to 180, I was walking around at 195, 196. So I got back up to my walk-around weight anyway.
Yeah.
But I have no problem fighting bigger guys. I mean, I train with big guys anyway, and I've always done well. So, I mean, that's the one thing I've always done is make sure to put myself against big people when I'm training.
Right.
So I can get stronger and faster with those people.
Yeah, for sure. And so you and your brother are from Humboldt locally, right?
Yeah, we grew up in Humboldt County, actually. We grew up in the woods, so back on Native Reservation. Down
like a couple hours from here, inland?
Not even a couple hours, maybe like hour and a half, 2 hours. Just depends on how well you know those roads. So,
right. Yeah.
I mean, to get where we lived, maybe it's like an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
If you're not used to those roads, it could take about 2 hours.
Right.
But we grew up all over, so I mean, not many people know where Hoopa is in general. Like they have Willow Creek because they know, like from Reading to Willow Creek. I'm like, you know where Hoopa is? They're like, the fuck's that? And I'm like, oh my god. Like, all right, well, instead of going towards Blue Lake, they're I know where Blue Lake is. Okay, now listen. Instead of going towards Blue Lake, take a right. And they're like, oh, I've never been that way. And I'm like, yeah, no, if you take the 96, you get to Hoopa, past Hoopa's Witchpeck, and then there's a bridge. As you pass that bridge, if you take a right, you're going to head towards like Orleans, Happy Camps, all sorts of different places. And you can actually get up to Wairika that way, or you can get up to Grants Pass going that route as well. But if you take a left, we just call it downriver. Right. We just call it downriver. But there's a bunch of different names for native spots that are down there because it's all Yurok Reservation, whereas Hoopa's a reservation. Downriver and Witchpeck, that's all Yurok Reservation. Okay. And so there's like different spots like Martin's Ferry, and then there's Tule Creek Housing, and you can take if you take Martin's Ferry Bridge and take a right, you're going down towards like Tule Creek Housing and all those places. But if you take a left, you can actually connect in the back roads back to Hoopa Res, and get to like the rodeo grounds and stuff like that. But if you keep going up and over the mountain, you actually can get to Oric. So you know where Trinidad is, right? So if you pass Trinidad, Oric, past Oric, it's Crescent City and Klamath and all those places. There's a Bald Hills Road though that connects downriver.
You can get down there.
Yeah, okay. It's a beautiful drive too. There's a lot of wildlife up there, so like elk and mountain lions and stuff like that.
Yeah. So you grew up wrestling?
Yep.
Yeah. What age?
I started wrestling when I was 3 or 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really young age.
Yeah. You and your brother?
Yep.
And you guys wrestled all the way up through high school? Up until you started fighting, really, right?
Pretty much.
Just nonstop combat?
We started wrestling at a young age, and then we grew up fighting pretty much because our dad wanted us to learn how to fight, take care of ourselves, stuff like that. And then as we got older, we transitioned with the wrestling and brought in striking and jiu-jitsu, and then watching different videos here and there to see if we liked something, just practice it with each other over and over and over again. But Lewis got his first amateur fight, I believe it was right out of high school pretty much.
Dang. And then he was like 18, 19.
So when he was right out of high school. And then obviously for me, I took a fight shortly after as well, and then we were able to go from there because he had an amateur fight, and then we did the tournament. No, we actually did the tournament together. So it was the tournament, then he had another fight because I was trying to go do college wrestling, but that ended up backfiring because they set my classes up during wrestling practices. And so it made it to where I was like, well, just put me in another class. And no, we're not going to do that.
Oh, dang.
I was like, fuck you guys. I'm going to leave then. So I said, fuck college. I want to fight because I already knew what I wanted to do after wrestling.
Right.
After I got done, my plan was to do collegiate wrestling, but in my head, I always wanted to fight. I love fighting. And so I told myself, I was like, well, if the wrestling doesn't work out, if I'm not able to wrestle because, say, classes or just something happens in general, say I don't even make the team just because somebody was a better wrestler, then it was fighting. But right off the bat, I only made 2 wrestling practices because my class load,
right,
I didn't even get to select my classes. My classes were pretty much selected for me. But when the wrestling coach tried to make it to where it's like, hey, could you guys do us a favor, move them into these classes, there was a problem where the teachers and the student council wasn't having it. They were like, well, student athletes don't deserve top priority. We're going to give it to the seniors and the juniors, people that are actually, focusing on these classes. I'm like, dude, I don't give a fuck about school anymore. I just want to wrestle. That's the only reason I'm here. So I took off.
Yeah. That's what I love about fighting, though, is that you don't have to go to college and impress scouts and all that. You can just, if you're the best, you can just go and show that you're the best.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I don't know how long we are, but I'm sweating balls right now. You getting hot?
No.
You don't have any water in you.
No, not really. Right. I gotta wait till I hit the sauna. I don't know how long we're at. Let's see. I think we started we're at 30 minutes.
Yeah, 30 minutes. Yeah, that was a good run. You want to cut it there?
Yeah, we can. And then, hopefully tomorrow. Not hopefully, but tomorrow I'll be 5-0. Still all finishes. And then,
we got weigh-ins tonight at 6.
Yeah, and then you'll be fighting too. So
good luck. I'm fighting. I'm not cutting any weight, so I feel great.
So hopefully, you'll have a good fight too. Hoping for you to win, even though he is. That's the crazy part too. So he trains at the same gym I'm training at now, and I was like, who you?
So you've sparred both of us, so you know.
Yes. So it'll be a fun fight. That's all I can say, just without, offending or upsetting, you, and without upsetting or offending him too, because he is a new training partner. But obviously you were family before he was. So it's just one of those things where it's like, no disrespect to either person. I'm obviously going to be in your corner for it just because I've known you longer. Yeah. And I had to let him know too. I was like, hey, no offense, bro, but Tyler's my homie. So he's like, no, I totally get it. Totally get it. And I was like, all right, cool. Good luck.
Yeah, I found some footage on him. He's a bigger dude. He's fought at welterweight before, and he's cutting down to 55. Yeah. And I'm going up 2 weight classes to 55. And I took the fight because Jacob Hodge pulled out for whatever reason he did. And so I was like, oh, let's fucking do it, man. I'm an amateur. I don't care, I would rather fight someone that can beat me. Yeah. Just so I can try and beat him. Yep. I don't want to fight someone that I know I can beat. Yeah. So.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Definitely.
Yeah.
No, I enjoyed this though. It was fun, but as of right now, I gotta go cut. I think 3 or 4 more pounds. I don't know yet. So yeah, hopefully.
Well, shit, I'll probably come say hey, support you in your weight cut. Good. I'm not gonna get in the sauna though.
You don't have to. You don't have to. Only a few of us are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think me, Austin, and Andrew are the only ones.
Yeah.
Getting in the sauna, and then Lewis said he'll stop by just to say hi.
All right. Orion, Galaxy, Cosce. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you.
All right, dude.